Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Welcome to Paranormal Travels on livesci-fi.tv. Thanks everyone so much for joining us tonight. Now tonight we are going to our topic is ghost ships. So one ship, our topic will be on the RMS Queen Mary, and the second ship will be the USS Hornet. And before we start, I'd like everybody please to give us a like and please subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate that. So with that, my first guest tonight for the Queen Mary will be Brian Clune. And Brian is part of Planet Paranormal. And we also want to thank him for sharing his pictures and EVPs that he's gathered from the Queen Mary, and they're really awesome, and we will play them shortly. So everybody, let's please welcome Brian to the show. Hey Brian, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh gosh.
Hi everybody.
Yeah, say hi. Brian, now our first subject will be on the Queen Mary, and I know you've been there so many times. Would you please tell the viewers some history on the Queen Mary?
Well, yeah, the Queen Mary started off as Cunard's way of trying to, believe it or not, cut back on how much money they were spending. They were running 3 and 4 different ships, and they decided that 2 larger ships would be better, so they built the RMS Queen Mary first, and then came out with the Queen Elizabeth. But the Queen Mary is probably the most historic ship that I personally would say was ever built. The impact that the ship had on history itself is just phenomenal, especially her World War II career. It's just something that if people don't know about it, I would highly recommend checking out the history of the ship, other than the paranormal, and the paranormal is incredible also. She was launched in 1936 and ran the North Atlantic route until World War II. Now, during World War II, Hitler actually put a bounty on the ship of $25,000 for anybody that could sink her.
Yeah.
And the entire time she was sailing during World War II, nobody even came close. She holds the record for the most passengers on any ship ever, just over 16,000 people in one sailing from New York to England. And I'm sure some people have seen the pictures. If you ever see it, it's incredible. There's just men just literally crammed onto the ship, and it's just a spectacular sight.
Oh.
And then after World War II, she did the bride and baby cruises, where she brought GI brides back over from England with their kids, and after that, just was transformed into probably one of the stateliest ships ever built until 1967, when her new home in Long Beach, and she's been there ever since.
And now she also has been called the Gray Ghost. Do you want to explain to the viewers why they called her the Gray Ghost?
Well, one of the reasons for that was that during World War II, she was painted completely gray. And she was actually one of the fastest ships to sail the oceans at the time. And she would literally outrun her own escort. So her ability to outrun anything that was chasing her, to outrun her own escorts, she would just literally basically go from New York to England with such a speed that people just couldn't keep up, and she just became known as the Gray Ghost.
Now, the size of the Queen Mary, can you tell the viewers the size and compare it to the Titanic?
a lot of people think that the Queen Mary was like double or triple the size of the Titanic. And in actuality, the Queen Mary was 1,081 feet long, where the Titanic was 880. So you could actually fit the Titanic inside the hull of the Queen Mary, but it would be a tight fit. There were only a couple hundred feet to the rear, and only about 6 inches on port and starboard side. So that can kind of give you a rough idea of the size difference.
Yeah, because I always thought it was twice the size of the Titanic, and the Titanic is supposed to be huge.
Correct. But the Queen Mary was large enough, believe it or not, she would not fit through the Panama Canal. So that's another one that'll give you a good idea of just how big the Queen Mary is.
Oh my God! Because the canal is pretty big. Wow.
Exactly. Battleships could fit through the Panama Canal, but the Queen Mary was too wide.
Oh my God. Good. So now let's talk about you and the paranormal. Now you're a member of Planet Paranormal, and you've been on the ship many times.
Well, yeah, that's an understatement. Planet Paranormal at one time actually had an office on board the ship, and unfortunately, when Hostmark took over the management of the ship, they sort of booted us off the ship, which was kind of a bummer for us. But at the time, we literally had run of the ship. Security would check the keys out to us, so we could literally go anywhere we wanted to on the ship, including an area that's now off limits, which is the forward cargo hold, which is one of the most haunted areas of the ship. And that area, I'm hoping that some miracle will get it opened up to people again.
Yeah, I'm showing a picture of the forward cargo hold right now.
Actually, I'm seeing our office.
Well, it's on delay.
That's probably why.
It's a couple of seconds on delay. So yeah, I'm showing the picture right now of the cargo hold. Do we have an EVP from that area?
No, unfortunately we do not, and that's something that has always kind of freaked us out. I mean, we've gotten so much activity down there, but for some odd reason it never seems to come out on our recorders. Most of what we would experience down there would be audibles. We could actually hear people talking about us being there. There would only be like 3 or 4 of us down in the cargo hold, but we could hear other people, men mainly, saying, what are they doing there? Why are they down here? What do they want from us? And the whole time we would have our recorders going, and nothing would come out on the recorders. Never been able to figure out why.
Let's go through now. I'm using the pictures that you have sent me. Now, what about I know everybody's interested in the pool. So let's go over to the pool. Now, I picked out a gorgeous picture of the pool, but the pool, I can't tell if it has water in it or not at this point.
No, it does not.
Okay, and the picture I'm showing, I can't tell if it has water or not. But I know...
the pool does not have water, and if they actually put water in it, the entire pool would end up down in the green room. There's really no supports left underneath. We've actually seen people walk down into the pool, and every time we see that, we just cringe. I mean, at any second, we expect them to just go crashing 100 feet down into the cargo hold, or not the cargo hold, excuse me, the generator room.
Oh my God. So let's talk about, since I'm showing the pictures of the pool area, what goes on in the pool area? That's supposed to be really haunted.
Correct. The pool is really kind of amazing. The amount of activity that we've gotten from that area is literally we've heard singing, we've heard screams. There's a male ghost down there that we've dubbed Grumpy, because this guy, he never talks, but he loves to growl at people. And a lot of people say that there is a vortex in the change room itself.
I have a picture.
I don't know about that, but I do know that...
All right, let me show them a picture of the change room. This is the change room, viewers. And what goes on in this change room?
Well, the change room, believe it or not, is where I had my very first actual paranormal event happen to me. And it was Grumpy. And he literally just growled right in my ear. And Bob Davis, who is the founder of Planet Paranormal, he likes to laugh and say it was my dude run moment. I will never admit to running, but I did leave the change room fairly fast after being growled at. So,
okay, now
I've actually seen a spectral cat in the change room, which just, everybody kept telling me how they kept seeing this cat around the ship, and I just kept thinking, okay, they must be on drugs. But I was sitting down there. We were doing an EVP session, and I kind of looked over, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm doing drugs. That just looked like a cat that went by.
Oh my God!
So I mean, the gamut of different paranormal events down there is just, you never know what you're going to get.
Oh my gosh! Now let me go back to the pool again. Now you sent me a picture of the main doorway in the pool. What goes on over there?
Well, there's not one area of the pool that I would say is more haunted than the other. It's just you never know what you're going to encounter in the pool area. I'm sure most of the viewers have heard of Jackie, the little girl that Peter James discovered back in the early 90s. Most people encountered Jackie in the pool. She kind of liked to hang out there. That's not to say that she doesn't wander all over the ship.
Have you gotten
she's found most readily in the pool area.
Has anybody gotten EVPs from Jackie on other parts of the ship?
Oh yeah, we've run across audio literally from the bow of the ship all the way back to the engine room. You never know where Jackie's going to pop up. She pretty much uses the whole ship as her playground.
Now, can I ask you how they came up with the name Jackie?
That would be Peter James. Back in the early 90s, Peter was back in what is now the Royal Theater, which is near the stern of the ship by the propeller box. Now, when the ship was in operation, the Royal Theater was actually the second-class bathing pool. And Peter was back there, and he picked up on this little girl talking to him. And as he was trying to talk to her, she kept saying, "I'll meet you in the other pool." And he wasn't quite sure what she meant, and then she just stopped talking to him. Well, when they got to the other pool, she piped up and was talking audibly to him. Now, Peter is the one that came up with the name Jackie. He basically states that her name is Jacqueline Corin. There's some speculation that it's Corin, but Peter basically stated Corin. Now, I've done some theory that she was probably part of the bride and baby cruises and probably just had slipped through the cracks as far as her name being recorded. But we're just not certain of that.
Oh gosh! Now I have a picture that you sent me with you. You think that it's Peter James?
Yeah. A lot of people say it's matrixing, and it very well could be. But I had been snapping some pictures. I was at the forward end of the pool, and I was snapping some pictures toward the stern. And there's a mirror that hangs on the wall just past the pool. And Bob was sitting down on the edge of the pool with his recorder, and I snapped a couple pictures. And when I got home and was reviewing, I kept looking at the mirror, thinking there's something strange in there. And then it dawned on me that it looked like what I was seeing was the cover of John Temporelli's book about Peter James.
Yeah.
And the more I looked at it, and the more I realized, this looks like Peter. And so, I sent the picture to Bob, and he agreed. Yeah, it could be matrixing. But then the more you look at it, if you really look at it, it almost looks like it's Peter looking back.
Yeah, it does.
Now, Peter loved the Queen Mary, and we have one EVP, and unfortunately I couldn't send it to you because it's not mine. And I think I'm the only one on the planet that cannot hear Peter in it. But we actually have an EVP of Peter, and it was basically caught the same evening.
Oh my gosh. Really? Has anybody had a conversation with Peter?
Well, I don't know whether anybody's actually had a conversation. I do know that other investigators have audio that they say is Peter speaking to them. Unfortunately, we only have heard the one. So, if there's any investigators out there that have some EVP or audible of Peter, please, send them to Queen Mary Shadows with your name, and we'll put it out there so everybody knows who sent it.
Okay, now the propeller room. You had mentioned that. Isn't there some kind of a haunting in the propeller room where that propeller is showing?
Yeah, I've never really experienced anything in the propeller room. However, a good friend of ours, who is also a very good investigator, Jerry Reynolds, he's got audio of what we believe might be one of the old captains of the ship. A lot of people believe that it might be Captain Treasure Jones, who is the captain who brought the Queen Mary to Long Beach on her final voyage. I'm not going to make any speculation on who it actually is. It's just that's what most people believe, is that Treasure Jones is still wandering around back there, checking out and making sure his ship's okay.
Now, what about the bow?
The bow is probably, in my opinion, the most haunted section of the ship. In October 2nd to be exact, of 1942, the Queen Mary was sailing with a full complement of GIs from New York to England, and she was meeting up with one of her escorts, the HMS Curacoa, and the Curacoa zigged when it should have zagged, and actually cut in front of the Queen Mary, and the Queen Mary cut the ship in half. Now, the Queen Mary was under orders, strict orders, not to stop for any reason. So the Queen Mary, even though she, cut the cruiser in half, just continued on to England. Now, unfortunately, over 300 men aboard the Curacoa died, and a lot of those got sucked up into the propellers of the Queen Mary as she because she was basically at full steam. Now, the forward cargo hold, you showed a picture of it earlier, is very close to the area that was damaged when the Queen Mary cut the Curacoa in half. And a lot of people claim to actually hear the screams of the men down in there.
Oh my God!
The Queen Mary itself, they have the Ghosts and Legends tour, and they have this whole special effects thing going that plays on that. Not sure I completely agree with it. Kind of using tragedy to make money, but it's kind of incredible. And then also, the forward cargo hold during World War II was used to transport German and Italian prisoners of war. So quite a few of them perished down there, and we've had reports of people hearing men speak, in German and Italian both. And then we also have heard a woman's voice down there that we believe is one of the nurses who was on board the ship and who used to tend to the prisoners when they were being transported to the United States.
Now, what about the boiler room?
The boiler room is just like any other part of the ship. However, a lot of people say that the green room is the boiler room, but the green room is actually in a generator room that sits between two boiler rooms. And there is a spirit down there that we've named John Henry. That's another name that came from Peter James. According to Mr. James, the crew member actually perished before the ship even set sail. He was one of the workers who turned up missing during the Depression when they stopped work on the ship.
Oh my God.
And apparently John Henry is still down there, and he really seems to like women. He's not real fond of men, but he has a tendency to like to play with the women when they go down there, which I guess is rather interesting.
Yeah. Okay, now let's see. What about Winston Churchill, the suite that he stayed in?
Well, the suite that he normally stayed in is now the Winston Churchill suite on the ship. Now, the Queen Mary, because of her speed, was one of the only ships that the English Crown would allow Winston Churchill to sail on. His cover name when he would sail on the Queen Mary was Colonel Wharton, and he sailed on the ship quite often. Now, they say that strong emotion can produce paranormal feedback, and the story goes that he was sailing back from the United States and was agonizing over whether he should actually sign the order for the invasion of France, what people call D-Day. And, I mean, he knew that by signing the order, a lot of men were going to be killed, but he also realized that if he didn't sign the order, the war could, drag on for months or possibly years longer. So people have actually reported smelling his cigar smoke as they're walking past the suite that bears his name. And the desk that he used to sign those orders is said to still be in that suite.
Really?
And with the emotion that the man had to be feeling as he signed these orders, you can just imagine that with the desk being there, that it's quite possible that a part of him is still there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now what about Doorway 13?
Doorway 13, back in the engine room. Now, a lot of people talk about John Penner, who was an 18-year-old crewman who was crushed by the door during a watertight drill. Now, it's said that a lot of the younger crew members would play chicken as the doors were closing, and apparently Mr. Penner didn't make it. But a lot of people do not know that earlier, about 10 years earlier, there was another crew member that was found crushed between the door. The exact same door, actually. And the speculation is that he wasn't very well liked because the way he was found, it looked as if he had been held there with somebody holding his arms on either side of the door and then allowing the door to crush him. So what a lot of people think maybe John Penner could actually be this other crew member that we know perished there.
Oh my God. Now, it's said that, like you said earlier, no matter where you go in the Queen Mary, I don't believe that there's a spot that is not haunted.
That's correct. They only officially register, if I remember correctly, 48 deaths on the ship. But that does not take into account the 300 or so that were killed when the ship rammed the Curacoa. It doesn't take into account the men who died from heat stroke when the Queen Mary was transporting troops from Australia, Singapore, to the Mediterranean. You know, because the Queen Mary was built for the cold North Atlantic. When she was, 100-degree weather, as she's transporting, thousands of men, a lot of them stuck below deck. There was no air conditioning. They didn't even have proper ventilation because the ship was built for the North Atlantic. So the temperature down below deck where these men were stationed would get to 110, 120 degrees. And a lot of them would actually perish. It also doesn't take into account the prisoners of war who perished as they were being brought from the battlefields over to the United States. So no one really knows the exact count of how many people perished on board the ship. Now, Peter James, and you'll notice I reference Peter James a lot. To me, Peter was the Queen Mary. He was just a fantastic advocate for the ship, and so I reference him a lot.
Yes.
And he was a gifted psychic also.
Yes.
He stated at one point that there were over 600 spirits on board the ship. Now, because Planet Paranormal had spent so much time on the ship, we know that there's a lot there. And we would love to, be able to talk to every single one of them, but, that just won't be possible. So, there's really not one area of the ship that's more haunted than the other. On that note, I wouldn't mind mentioning a lot of people talk about room B340.
Oh, yeah, just a second. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, B340 is known as the most haunted room on the ship.
Right.
Well, what people don't know is room B340 was a Disney construct. They needed a room that they could say was so haunted that they can't rent it out. Well, B340 wasn't being rented, so they just created this myth around the room. Now, the story they give for room B340 is actually something that occurred in room B474, where a man who was despondent for whatever reason, no one really knows, he murdered his two little girls and his wife in the room.
Oh my God.
And that is basically the story that they're using for room B340.
Okay, now, Brian, Which is the room that they used on Ghost Hunters when they pulled the covers down?
That was room B340.
Okay, the one I'm showing. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, the one I can see up right now, that's room B340. Now, that's the one, like I said, was created by Disney when they ran the ship back in the 80s. So, you know, it really isn't any more haunted than any other room on the ship. And you can literally have activity anywhere. It does not matter which room you're in. When my wife and I stayed there our very first time, and this was back before I was really into paranormal investigating or anything, we had a bunch of activity in our room. And it turns out that one of the reasons for that is we were back by the old morgue on B-deck.
Oh.
During World War II, I believe there were 4 areas of the ship that were designated as morgues.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, that kind of goes to show you how many people were had perished on that ship. You know, if they had that many morgues aboard.
You know, how about we go into some of the awesome EVPs that you sent me?
Sure.
Let's see. What I need to. Okay. You know what? We're gonna play some EVPs that Brian sent to me, and they came from Brian and his team, Planet Paranormal, and we want to thank you for that. So what I want to do is, let me go down here. All right, so I have to set this up because I can't have sound over here. So we're gonna play. Okay, the first one we're gonna play is the scream in the pool. Now, Brian, set this up so I can play it.
Okay, so the scream was actually during one of the darkness events that was on the Queen Mary, and this actually occurred after another EVP that I sent you, and you'll hear Bob Davis. He's just talking, and all of a sudden you just hear this blood-curdling scream come out of nowhere, and it was actually audible.
Okay, so just 1 second, guys. I have to set this up. Hold on. All right, and I gotta do a shot that.
I thought Grumpy was piping up back in there.
Okay, was everybody able to hear that? Were you able to hear that? Oh, boy, it's on delay.
Yes, those delays can be.
It's really that's the bit. Everybody, they haven't caught up with me yet. Wow. Well, let's just go ahead and play the second one. Oh, here we go. I'm playing it now.
Oh, I can hear it on the delay.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, I heard it on the delay. So.
Okay, now I'm back.
The voice you heard was Bob Davis, by the way.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. They heard that. All right, great. Okay, so now let's set up. Okay, let's set up for number 2. This was in the infirmary. We don't something. What is that one, Brian?
Okay, this was actually during an investigation with Rob Ledarsky, and we were back in the infirmary.
Oh, hey, wait a minute. One second, Brian. They want me to play it one more time.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Let me go back. Okay, let me go back.
I thought Grumpy was piping up back in there.
Okay, guys, I played it for you a second time. Okay, Brian, let's go on to number 2 then, in the infirmary.
Okay, you'll hear somebody ask about do you want to do an EVP session, and then we'll stop and we'll play it back and see if we hear anything. Well, right after you hear that, you will hear a whispered, "We don't want to," and you'll actually hear it twice. And it wasn't anybody in our group, because we actually heard it audible, and we kind of were asking, all right, who said that? And everybody was, me, we want to do that.
Okay.
So those two we don't want to's are nobody from our group.
Okay, let me set this up.
We want to do like a couple questions and play back and see what we need.
That's fine. Why don't you just...
Okay. Do I need to play that again? Very clear. Okay, great. Okay, great. So everybody heard that. All right. All right, so Brian, let's set up the third one. This was in the pool, in that pool room. Whoops.
Okay, well, which one?
This one's number 2, EVP Queen Mary pool room.
All right, if it's the one that I think it is, this actually occurred just before the scream, and if it's what I'm thinking, you'll hear Bob's daughter Katrina say, "Jackie, can you talk to us?" And what you hear is not Jackie. It's what we believe to be the lady in white. And you'll hear this woman say with a distinct British accent, "No, I can't." Now, this one was actually pretty special for Bob and his daughter, because this is the first audible or EVP that Katrina ever heard.
Okay. Okay. All right, let me go over, set this up.
Jackie, will you talk for me?
Okay. All right. So, okay, Brian, let's set up the third one. This is third audible, Queen Mary, grumpy.
Okay,
Yeah.
Now, this one's grumpy, and what you're going to hear, Bob Davis and Rod Shelton were in the pool, just the two of them, and Rod had never actually been to the Queen Mary before, and what you're going to hear is basically typical grumpy. He just likes to growl. So when you hear a growl, that's grumpy, which is why we named him Grumpy.
Okay. All right, let me set it up.
If you walk up to the device at my hand, what is your name?
Okay. All right, so the next one. This one is Queen Mary pool. Jackie says, "Mommy."
Yes, and this was basically self-explanatory. You'll hear Bob and Katrina, and then Jackie just pipes up and just, "Mommy," and like I said, it's self-explanatory. You can't miss it.
Okay, setting it up.
My hair's standing up bad. There she is.
Okay. Now, let's see. We have another one here. Oops. All right, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, now this one here is in the boiler room where you want to, with Radio Ron?
Yeah, this is the same night of the Grumpy clip. Again, it's Rod Shelton and Bob Davis, and they're down in the green room area, which is the generator room between the two boiler rooms. And Bob's trying to get John Henry to say something, and he says, if you talk, I'll put you on radio. And right after Bob says that, you hear what we believe is John Henry say whispered, radio.
Yes, this is awesome. All right, just a second.
This is going on radio.
There you go.
That was awesome. Okay, now the next one is number 6, and it says, "What's wrong, Candy?"
Right. Now, this one you'll hear Jackie a couple times. Bob says, "What's wrong?" And then, if I remember correctly, because I can't remember how I cut it, you'll hear him say, "Is everything all right?" And she says, "Yes." But the amazing thing about this is when Jackie says "Candy," it's basically a precog moment, because I get a tickle in my throat, so I keep hard candies in my pocket just in case that happens. And this was all audible. This comes from a 17-minute conversation, basically, that Bob and I had with Jackie. I had just reached into my pocket to grab a piece of candy. My hand closed on the piece of candy while still in my pocket. I hadn't even pulled it out. And you just hear Jackie go, "Candy!"
Oh,
and
my God.
Like I said, I haven't even pulled the candy out of my pocket.
Oh, my God. Okay, I'm going to set this up. Well, that was a fast one.
That was that fast?
Yeah.
Maybe this is one I just cut it. Oh yeah, I did.
Okay. All right.
I apparently cut that so it just said candy.
Yeah. Okay. Number 7. This is number 7. Brian, you can call me, I guess, Uncle.
Yeah. Now, during our 17-minute conversation with Jackie, Bob was thinking to himself, everybody has an Uncle Bob. So he kept telling Jackie that you can call me Uncle Bob. And she was very adamant about the fact that she did not want an Uncle Bob. So you hear Bob Davis say, "You can call me your uncle," and she just yells at him, "No!" I'm a little upset about it.
Okay. Just a second. Setting it up, guys.
You can call me your uncle.
Oh, Brian, that is just so awesome.
Now remember, those are all audibles. None of that is EVP.
Oh, my God. Can you explain to the viewers what an audible is?
Well, yeah, the difference between an audible and an EVP is EVP, you can't hear what's being said while you're there. An audible is just as if you were talking to somebody. You can hear it while you are there. So that's why I say, these are all cuts from a 15 to 17-minute conversation that Bob basically was having with Jackie. I was busy running around the pool trying to figure out where this little girl was hiding.
Okay.
I didn't find
All right. Now, number 8, Brian, you're not my uncle. Explain that one.
Okay, this is basically a continuation of Bob trying to convince Jackie that she needs an Uncle Bob. So at one point, you can hear Jackie say, "You're not my uncle," and then you can sort of hear something we've never been able to quite make out. And then Bob says, "Are you okay, sweetie?" or "Are you okay, honey?" And you can hear it just go, "Yes."
Oh, this is great. Okay. Just a second.
Are you okay, honey?
Brian, that was awesome. Awesome. Oh my God.
You know, you might not want to say awesome because of the next EVPs you're going to be playing.
I got one left.
Right. And it's what this is it's a ghost mocking Rod Shelton. Okay?
Yeah, now see, this one, I had a hard time with this one.
Well, okay, let me set it up. You hear Rod, and this kind of came right after Bob and Rod had heard Grumpy kind of growling at him. Rod turned to Bob and looks at him and just goes, "That was awesome."
Oh.
And then you hear Bob say something, and then you can hear somebody Bob and Rod were the only two in the pool at the time. You can hear somebody mocking Rod by saying, "That was awesome."
Oh my God. Is that what that was? Oh.
It was, yes.
Oh, okay. All right, let me set it up.
So the second "that was awesome" is neither Rod nor Bob.
Oh my God. Okay, thanks for explaining that. Okay, I'm going to set it up.
Oh, that's awesome. We need a cigarette, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Wow. Those were awesome, Brian.
Isn't it though?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Gee, Brian, thanks so much for being my guest. It was just a pleasure to have you talk about the Queen Mary and share your pictures and your EVPs. It's just wonderful.
Oh, believe me, I could talk about the Queen Mary all day and all night.
Oh God.
The ship is a passion for not only myself, but for Bob and quite a few other investigators that we know of.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm 6 hours away, so it's too far for me.
Well,
Brian,
if you ever get a chance, come on down. I actually met Tim for the first time at the Queen Mary.
oh yeah, Tim's been there. Say hi to Tim, Brian. Tim's watching.
Hi, Tim. How you doing?
Tim's been there several times. Well, Brian, do you want to give them your website?
Yeah. The one for the Queen Mary is basically just queenmaryshadows.com. I noticed in the chat room that some people were saying that they wished that we could have played them twice. Now, we have the full 17-minute audio on Queen Mary Shadows, and we also have a lot of the other EVPs that we played, along with other investigators' evidence. So Queen Mary Shadows is a great resource for people that want to learn about the Queen Mary and her paranormal side. We also have Planet Paranormal Radio and then Planet Paranormal Investigations. However, our investigations website's kind of undergoing a makeover at the moment.
Well, Brian, everybody, let's all thank Brian for joining us tonight. You were awesome. Awesome. You were, I got to stop that. You were a great guest, Brian. And again, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed having you on. We'll be bringing you back when we do the when we air the Alcatraz show, right?
Oh, I hope so. We have some excellent EVPs from there, too.
Oh, yeah. We'll have you back. You and Bob both.
Great.
So,
Bob would really enjoy that.
Brian, thank you so much, and you have a wonderful evening. It was a pleasure to have you on.
Oh, you know what? The thanks are mine. I want to thank you and all the people that were listening. Like I said, I love bringing the Queen Mary to people. It's a great ship.
Well, we enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Good night, Brian.
All right, good night. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Wow, that was awesome. That was great. All right, now what I'm going to do is our next guest is Ken Gully, and he was a docent, and he also works as the paranormal on the USS Hornet. So what I need to do is give him a call. So if you would just stand by, I'm going to give Ken a call, and I'll be right with you. Oh my God. All right, I'm going to start over. Sorry, everybody. I forgot to put the sound back on. Everybody, this is Ken Gully. He's my guest tonight. He was a docent, and he's part of the paranormal on the USS Hornet. And Ken has sent me an awesome picture, a ghost picture that he captured, and it's really freaky. It gives me chills when I look at it. And now Ken also, he's been a part of the Hornet for many years. He used to give the ghost tours and the history tour, so you could have either or. And he's an expert on the U.S. Hornet. He will be talking about the Hornet with us tonight. But I know I got it, guys. Oh God, I'm telling you, I hate doing that. So I backed up anyway. It's back. I know. So Ken, I'm going to show okay, guys, I'm going to show the picture that Ken sent me, and it's really freaky. So Ken, I'm showing the picture right now.
Okay.
Okay, here it is. Do you want to tell the viewers about this picture? Oh, wait a minute. Excuse me. They want to know what a docent is.
Oh, a docent is a tour guide in a museum.
Okay. And oh, Ken, you know what? Okay, well let's talk about this picture. Then I'm going to ask you questions about the Hornet. Go ahead. All right, here's the picture. I'm showing it right now. It's on delay, Ken.
Okay, good.
Yeah, don't watch the video. Just, I got your picture up now.
Yeah, that's a little bit squashed, I see. No, I don't hear you.
No, go ahead and talk. We're live. It's on delay.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, no, I don't see the picture. Oh, there
Oh,
it is.
no.
Okay. Yeah, I been doing tours on the ship for many years, and I also help out in the paranormal groups, taking tours around and groups around. The picture Noreen has up on the screen right now is entire accident. If you see on the lower half there's an aircraft, and to the right there are a bunch of people sitting in chairs. These people are guests of, they spend the night, the overnight program. And they are watching a video on a TV monitor that's right there. And they are actually watching the Ghost Hunter episode when they came on board the ship. They videoed it, and we show it to guests when they spend the night. And I am sitting, as you can see, on this side of the aircraft, and it's entirely dark in this picture.
Okay, Ken. So it is complete darkness. Now, did you have an IR light on this when you snapped this?
No, it was an IR camera.
Oh, I got that same one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I never owned one before, and I just bought it, and I really didn't know how to use it. So I'm waiting for the guests to finish the video, and I'm sitting on one of the pieces of equipment there, and I'm sort of looking at my camera, checking the menu, how to make it work, and I'm just holding it up over my head, and I take a shot, take it down and look at it, put it up, take a shot, take it down and look at it. And one time I did that, I saw this faint figure inside that doorway, and I zoomed in on it, and there's this figure there, this huge inflated-looking.
Okay, now Ken. Ken.
Yes.
The height. What is the height of that doorway?
The height of that doorway, men go through there on a regular basis, so it's at least 6 feet tall or more.
Okay.
And if you see the picture, the head is almost directly at the top.
Yes.
And when you stand in that doorway, if you notice his left arm is outside the door, and his right arm is almost touching the other side of the door. And I was looking for the picture of one of our crewmates who was standing, and there's a comparison. But you can also see one of his legs are in front of the doorway, so it's a very huge-looking character, right?
He's huge.
And he's coming straight at me, which freaked me out the first time I zoomed in on it.
Yeah.
But the video just finished, and I asked everybody who was sitting there, does anybody know who this is? Because it could have been a guest. But there was no reason anybody should be in that doorway. And nobody knows who that is. Nobody had a white top and a white bottom.
But look at how white he is.
Yeah,
as
he's
well.
It looks like he's a sailor in a white uniform.
He's huge. This person is huge.
The top, he almost looks like he has a white hat on. And if you look closely, it almost looks like he has that navy neckerchief, the black.
Yeah.
And I had everybody freeze right away, and I said, does anybody know who this is? And nobody knew who it was. And I had a guy because I couldn't believe what I just captured, right? So I had to try to compare it with a normal person, and I don't have that picture here, but nobody knows who he was. And it was the week before Halloween, I believe it was 2011, so it's sort of cold out. We didn't have anybody wearing white pants on board. But it's a tricky picture because I can't prove that. A lot of people think we faked it.
Yeah, I know.
And I have to live with that forever. It's just, my credibility is at stake. But there's no way we could have faked it. My philosophy with all of this is if you can duplicate it, it's probably not paranormal. And we can't duplicate that, to get the proportions straight or the fogginess of it.
So have you tried to duplicate it then before?
Well, I had a person stand in there right away to try to get the size straight, and the guy would be like Hulk Hogan or somebody compared to a normal guy standing there.
Oh yeah, when you showed this to me, I got chills the first time I saw this.
The only reason you see it now, also because everything was in the dark, I had to take it into Photoshop, and the only thing I did pick up the brightness a little bit to see what's actually there. But when you're sitting there, the whole place was dark.
Yeah. Oh my God. That is one of the best pictures I've ever seen. I mean, that is really freaky.
But I seriously don't know what to make of it. I want to believe it was somebody's uncle who went and, was where he wasn't supposed to be, but nobody knew who it was. And I'm stuck with it.
I know. I wanted to bring that one on first because we've been on for an hour and I just wanted everybody to see this. Okay, so Ken, let's go back to you.
Sure.
Would you just give the viewers a little bit, just a short synopsis, a history on the USS Hornet?
Yeah, that's hard to do when you get me started. I could talk 10 hours.
I know, but we don't have 10 hours.
No, the Hornet is an aircraft, or World War II aircraft carrier, and it was built during World War II. It has a tremendous history, however. It turns out that the Navy recognizes it as being the second most decorated naval ship in history. The only ship more decorated than the Hornet is the USS Enterprise, which they cut up, unfortunately. But a couple statistics. One of them is that all of the aircraft on the ship sank more tonnage of enemy ships than our whole submarine fleet in World War II.
Wow.
The aircraft alone, right? The history is unbelievable. You could spend 3 days going through the ship and seeing everything that's there. It's really a remarkable ship historically, and even with all of that, they actually went ahead and recovered the Apollo 11 and Apollo 12 capsules when they came back from the moon.
How big is the ship? How big is the aircraft carrier?
It's 894 feet long. Flight deck's about 55 feet to the water. I think it's about as big as a 14-story building. It's almost identical in size and weight as the Titanic, but the Titanic has decks where we don't have decks above the flight deck. And no damage. It was in 59 of the major battles against the Japanese in World War II, and no damage to the ship.
Wow.
And its nickname also is the Gray Ghost.
Exactly.
And
why is that?
The reason that is because there was a Hornet before this, CV-8. This is CV-12. CV-8 was the one that launched the Doolittle raid against Japan, the retaliatory strike after they hit Pearl Harbor. And the Japanese, when they found out that CV-8 was the ship that did that, they did everything they could to sink it, right? And they succeeded. It took them about 3 days, but they sank it. This ship, the Hornet, when they laid the keel, was going to be the USS Kearsarge. But to stumble the Japanese, they decided to take the Hornet name off CV-8, put it on CV-12, and call it the Hornet. And then they were playing psychological warfare with the Japanese. And psychological warfare is a valid tactic in warfare, and to confuse the enemy. So this ship is out there making hay of their whole Navy and Air Force, and they heard the Hornet's here, the Hornet's there, and they said, wait a minute, didn't we sink the Hornet? So, we were like the ghost of CV-8. We were out there getting revenge for CV-8, and we just seemed like the specter that was hassling the Japanese, and it was intentional that they did that.
Now I'm showing now is this the flight deck where you from the elevator you bring and you put the airplanes on that deck?
Right. There are 3 elevators. There's 2 deck edge, what they call deck edge elevators that are on either side of that structure. It's called the island. And then on the forward part of the ship, they have what's called a centerline elevator. And they bring aircraft up and down from the hangar deck where they do repairs and fueling, and they can arm aircraft down there. And the elevators bring them up to the flight deck where they actually take off and land.
Now, is the flight deck haunted at all?
I have never caught anything up there myself personally, but I'm not on every investigation. I would be surprised. I've never caught a lot of stuff in the brig or the engine room personally, but I think why that is because the flight deck is not an attractive place to hang out, and neither is the engine room, or
Now, I have a picture, but I think this is the solitary cell. You know, it was real narrow. There's 4 of them. Is that the solitary jail?
That is the brig. Yeah, that's the ship's jail, and it looks like solitary, but that's how small it was.
Yeah, I'll say you're right on top. It's right there. In fact, when we sat down, we had crosswise. We had to put our legs up.
Oh yeah, there's not a lot of room in there.
Now we did get some activity. When I investigated, I did get some activity in that area.
I've heard that people do, yeah, but I never have.
Now, in the officers' dining room, now there's a kitchen attached to that dining room, isn't there?
They all are. The wardroom has its own kitchen. That's the kitchen for the officers. The chief's mess is for the chief petty officers. And the enlisted mess is for the crew. And each mess deck has its own kitchen. Now,
this kitchen here that's connected to the officer's dining room, is that the kitchen where Heidi had the container of soap thrown at her?
I'm not aware of that story, but it could be.
Okay.
I think that was the enlisted mess deck, yeah.
Okay, yeah. She was in there, and she said across the room a thing of soap, hand soap or dish soap, was thrown at her. And we also had activity in there. Now, what about sick bay? That's pretty active, isn't it?
Sick bay is pretty active, and there's a mixture of things we can find in there. Some EVPs. One of our guests said that they were scratched laying in one of the bunks one night. We had a girl who wanted to stay in there for a half hour on her own, and we can't just leave anybody in the dark all alone. So I was the one that was sort of like watching her, and I was outside in the passageway around the corner. And she wasn't in there a half hour. She was in there about 3.5 minutes when she comes running out of there screaming that somebody was coming at her from the opposite corner, and she could hear their footsteps, and she wanted nothing to do with the paranormal anymore. She didn't want to be alone the rest of the night.
Oh, my God.
I felt sorry for her, actually. She was really...
Oh, poor thing.
I hope she's not hearing this, but anyway, she didn't want anything to do with the paranormal anymore.
Now, sickbay, coming from the folk school, there's a hallway, isn't there? Does that lead over? You know, I've been on that ship so many times, and the thing was so huge, I could never. If you left me there, you'd never find me because I wouldn't know where I was. The thing was huge. I never was able to find my way around that ship ever. But I remember walking down, when we were doing an investigation, walking down one of the hallways, and it wasn't real lit up. And I was looking for some teammates, and when I was walking down the hall, there was this was the hallway, and then there was a doorway to go down to another hall, and I think it was going towards sick bay. And I looked up, and I saw this black figure, a shadow man, and he was going around the doorway, and he was looking at me. He was all black, but he had like I could see a baseball cap. It was dark, but it had the shape of a baseball cap. And oh my God, Ken, he was looking right at me. He scared the heck out of me. And then he disappeared.
I've heard of people experiencing that.
Oh, you have? Oh my God.
Yeah. We were in the Admiral's stateroom one night, and we were sitting at the long table there, and there was one of our guests was in the other area. I could see him through the doorway, all by himself, staring off to one side. And I was wondering, what's wrong with this guy? He's just standing there staring in the dark, right? And we get up to leave, and I went over and asked him what's going on, and he said that you could see a black figure, the head, shoulders, and it was like just standing there. And he got the vibration off of it that he was facing off with a gang member. And this person turned out to be a police officer.
Really?
And And he was totally freaked about the whole thing. And then I told that same story to another group, and the one young man in the group, he says, I told the same story, and the young man in the group says, "Oh yeah, that was my father. He came home that night and couldn't stop talking about it."
Oh my God.
I'm waiting for that myself. I haven't seen anybody really stand there and stare at me.
Now, there's an area down in the surgical area where they have all those rooms. I remember we were filming, and there was something wrong with the audio on the camera. And so on the walkie-talkie, my teammate said, "Hey, we can't hear your audio." So I said to the cameraman, I said, "Well, you better check the audio on this and make sure everything is okay and whatever." And so then I said, "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?" And a voice down the hallway, this young man's voice said, "Yes, I can hear you." And my husband and my cameraman, we all heard it, all three of us. So I know I wasn't just hearing things.
If you go to, since the website has been down, I've been putting a lot of this evidence on the Facebook page that we have, and it seems to be more stable as far as entering evidence on there. And I don't have everything in there yet, but if people go there, they'll see some EVPs that we've caught on the ship, and I've made them sort of as a video, so when words are spoken, you can actually see the text, and when there's this questionable, whisper in the background, I put the word there of what it's saying, and you can hear them. So if people want to hear some of the EVPs that we've caught, they can go to the Facebook page, which is called Paranormal Department, and it's 2 words, but it's a lot of that stuff is on Facebook now.
Oh, I didn't know you had some EVPs. Also, on the other side of the Admiral's room, there's that, what room do you call that with the big table where we would do the seances at?
That's the Admiral's import stateroom, right?
Okay, that's all part of the stateroom where that meeting room with that big table and the chairs?
Oh, with the curved table, that's what we call the war room. It's sort of down the passageway from the Admiral's stateroom.
Okay. I remember...
It's 2 things. It's also the captain's import stateroom, and the other side is the Admiral's import stateroom.
Okay.
And both of these areas have a long table where they can do dinner parties and entertain guests.
I think that's where we were. We were there. Actually, I've heard this several times, at least 3 times on the ship, the whistle. Heidi used to tell us about, sometimes you'll hear a sailor whistle. I'll be damned. I've heard it at least 3 times, that whistle. And it's amazing to actually hear that. Have you ever heard the whistle, Ken?
I think one time I have. But sometimes I'm very much the skeptic. When I hear something like a whistle, I wonder, is the tide coming in? And
no, this is he.
It can be different than that.
Oh no, this is the real deal. I mean, it's so distinct, and I heard it down there, and I heard it, and like I said, I don't know the ship. I'm completely lost, but I heard it in 2 other locations as well. And Ken, not only that, I put this on Heidi's Facebook page. Last week, I was sitting in here working on the computer, and all of a sudden, that whistle I heard in my house.
Oh, yeah.
I heard, I said, "Oh my God, that's the same whistle I heard on the Hornet." And I was here by myself. The cats even heard it because they were in the hallway. They stopped in their tracks and they were looking. And so I said, if you came from the Hornet, I said, "Would you please do that again?" I'll be damned. He did it again. So swear to God, he did it again. I called my sister up and I said, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe this. It's that same whistle. I heard it for the first time in my house." So I had her on the phone. I said, "Okay, now would you please do that again? My sister's listening. Please don't let me tell her that I'm a liar. Please do it. But he didn't do it again. So when Jim came home, because my husband's works in security on the Hornet, I said, "You brought somebody home from the ship. I've been on there so many times. I didn't bring anybody home, and you bring somebody home."
I feel honored if they were willing to, escort me home.
Well, I don't know if they're still here. They might have just, come over here and left and went back to the ship with Jim. I don't know. Now, what about, let's see, sick bay, torpedo room. Does anything go on in the torpedo room?
I haven't heard of a lot of activity there, no. We had the strange K2 activity one night where the whole berthing area there was lighting up at the same time for all three of us, and it was only one evening and very active. I don't know if it was doing Morse code. But I've never had that happen since.
Anything really?
We don't have to do paranormal in the dark. We've had people experience things in broad daylight.
Oh yeah.
We've had things happen. You can hear somebody whisper in your ear, and then we can have 400 kids in the hangar deck. People think we have to do it in the dark and get very spooky, but you can have an experience any time of the day there.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. And that's happened to me many times. Having experiences and not in the dark, exactly, and all the spirits on the Hornet are all really good spirits. I've never encountered any negativity at all, none whatsoever.
Same here. I think I think when you treat them like crewmates, also if you just treat them like one of the gang, if you go in there expecting demons and things, you probably brought them in there with you. But if you go in there and you've got just this positive attitude and you treat them like family, we have better luck when you just be real with them. They can see right through. They can see right through you. And if you're just real with them and human about it, they are very much that. A lot of the EVPs we pick up sound like little girls. Also, I just want to say.
Really.
The youngest I've met so far is somebody who lied about their age in World War II, if you can believe it, was 14 years old. So a lot of these spirits or crewmates may not even be out of puberty yet.
But you didn't, there weren't any females on the ship. There weren't nurses, right?
No, not in World War II, not in Vietnam either.
Yeah, it was all males.
And not on an aircraft carrier.
Now, what about in the forecastle? I know that's pretty active.
Forecastle is a whole different ball of wax. We can have activity in the middle of ghosts. We like to do ghost stories with the scouts. When they come on board, we bring them up in the forecastle. We turn on the red lights and make it really good and spooky for them. And we can have K2 activity almost on command up there.
Yeah.
We've been talking with there's somebody who doesn't mind coming out in front, and the kids love it. When we get a connection with somebody and they can actually see the K2 responding to this back and forth dialogue, and they go crazy for that. Oh
yeah, that's as well. A lot of K2 activity in that area.
Yeah.
Isn't there something? And now, Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures, one of those shows, they were. I don't know if they spotted the military that walk up. There's that deck up there that goes into a room. They have been spotted up there as well, haven't they?
I'm not sure. There's a lot of rooms on there.
No, in the forecastle, there's been the Navy officers have been seen standing up there.
Right. The secondary con, it's called. There's 5 ways to steer the ship. And that's the second way up there. It's called the secondary con. And you can actually, sometimes I had a whole group of people up there, and you can hear somebody walking on that catwalk there. They make a very distinctive noise, and the whole room heard it, and it was just incredible. It's like somebody running on the catwalk up there. It was terrific.
Wow. So, any other really interesting hauntings that happen at the Hornet?
like I said, I think I carried something home with me one night. I used to be security like Jim, and I would do these sweeps at the end of the day, and the port side 5-inch gun up there, I would go through there, and some days I'd hit a cold spot, some days I'd have goosebumps, some days I'd be sick to my stomach, some days I'd have a headache, and it was only in one area up there. And the one day I got shot with goosebumps, I came out of there back to the hangar deck, and I couldn't get rid of the goosebumps. I get in my car, I'm on the freeway, I have goosebumps. I'm eating dinner, watching TV, I got goosebumps. I take a hot shower, I got goosebumps. It's like,
oh, isn't that weird? Taking a hot shower and you're cold at the same time?
Yeah.
I used to get that.
What I want to say is the next morning I got up and they were gone. And when I went through that area again, there has never been anything since.
Oh, really?
And I think I showed it the way off the ship. And we've had psychics on board, as you know, and the one area up there, they said what they believed was up there that I encountered, they believed that was a 15-year-old kid who lied about his age and that he died from fear, believe it or not.
Oh, no.
And he may have trusted me enough to latch on to me.
Oh.
And it really feels like I fixed him is what I'm getting to. It's like somehow I had to meet him, he trusted me, and it's just incredible things happen there.
Oh my gosh. Well, the USS Hornet, they have, is it every Friday night or Thursday night? They have, maybe it's Friday night, they have their ghost tours.
Well, it depends when we have a group come in. We do it, they have to call in advance and make a reservation. So whenever we get a crew together or enough interested people, oh yeah, we'll do it. We love taking people around.
And the website for the Hornet, do you know what the website is for the Hornet? Where they can get all the information about sleepovers and...
I think you can go to USSHornet.org.
Yeah, USSHornet.org, right.
Yeah, just Bing it or Google it, you'll find it. It's a national monument.
Right.
So it's a historical ship. It's easy to find.
Yeah, they have sleepovers, they have historic tours, they have the ghost tours. It's really awesome. It's really, if you've never been there and you're in the area, it's quite a ship to see, quite a ship. Well, Ken, thanks so much. That was fun. That picture, oh my God.
I love it.
Oh, thanks, Ken, so much. My best wishes to you, and hope we'll be talking soon. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.
Thanks. Good night. Wow, that's an awesome picture. Okay, everybody. Hey, thanks for joining me tonight on Paranormal Travels. Again, I'm your host, Noreen, on livesci-fi.tv. Please, everybody, would you please give a like, and would you please subscribe to the channel? You know, we have live shows every Thursday night, and then occasionally we have shows on Saturdays. And so this Saturday, Tim will be joining me, and our show will be on exorcisms and possessions. And our returning guest with us will be Bishop James Long, which he is so awesome. And so I hope you'll be joining us. The show on Saturday will be at 6:30 Pacific Daylight Time, 9:30 Eastern Daylight Time. And so I hope you all join us. And again, thanks to my guests, Brian Clune and Ken Gully, for being my guest tonight on the show. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and thank you so much for being with me tonight. It's such a pleasure to have everybody. Oh, you know what? Do you want me to give you guys a shout out? If you know, I have a terrible time doing this. For some reason, I can't see all your names. So I can give you a shout out who's here, but don't get mad at me because I can't see. I only get like 3/4 of your name, but I'll give you a shout out, okay? All right, so there's Krista, Brian Clune is still here, Katie 1987, Cassandra, thank you for modding, Butts, Eunice, Trav 1227, Green, I think it's Green Dog, I'm not sure, Halos, Jenny, Danny Jenkins, Ken Gully, Ken, again, thank you, Charlie, I know Charlie, but I can't see the rest of your names. Charlie P, Kate B, Brewski, Chipper, Sherry, Clumsy, Shadow, and it starts with the V. That's where it ends. Nani, Evo, Unique Annie, DMF, Steve Ello. That's all I can see. Aspring. That's Amber, I believe. Dutch Eve, Iron Man, Tasha, Cajun Bay, Papo, Leon, Lloyd, Tex Asta, Kelly, 00, Talixa, Bridget, Eric, Nelson, Kristen, Rhino, Curious Hunter, Evil Girl 17, Ginger, Ice, is it Ice Dragon? Waltassa, Karen, Karen Van Hammond. Oh, Karen, you were a guest on my show. She wrote an awesome book. Tulip, thank you for modding. Master T, Mamo, Darren E, Meg Scottia, I think. DMF, did I lose something? DMF, Fallen A, Evil Girl 17. It's repeating. I don't know why. And there are others that are also watching the show. If you're over on YouTube, you ought to come over onto livesci-fi.tv and join us in chat. It's a wonderful chat room. But wherever these others are, thank you so much for watching the show. It was just a real pleasure to have. It was a real pleasure to have everybody. Cajun Bayou. Sorry. Anyway. So I'm going to go now. Hi, Eric McLean. Hello, everybody. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I've got to go now. So I'll see you on Saturday with Tim will be with me, and we'll have another awesome show. Thanks, everybody. Good night. And thank you. I love you all. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.